Yeah.
Like,
You're a
yeah.
star. You're a superstar.
All right. Recording, right? We got speed. All right. So, TV lovers, music lovers. Personality lovers, podcast lovers. I got the man right here, Randy Jackson, and we're here to talk about a great event that we're both going to attend, and also just your career. Which has been like a stellar career. I remember the first time, I heard the first ads for American Idol, and it's like Randy Jackson. I'm thinking, oh, he's one of the Jackson 5.
He's Michael's brother.
It's like he must be Michael's. But that, even from then, when Google wasn't what it was, it made me start to do my research and find out that you was behind so many great projects and musicians, from Journey to Springsteen to Whitney Houston to Mariah. I guess I could keep naming names for 10 years. But it made me really appreciate a lot of things you do. And now, today, to have this honor of interviewing, I find out that you're from the Deuce and the Quarter. You're a Southern.
Yo, Louisiana in the house. What's up, man?
And I gotta start there. New Orleans has been like the capital of all this music and sound for all this time. How did it trickle down to 10 to Baton Rouge and catch up to you?
Well, it's funny. I tell people all the time that growing up in the South for me was one of the greatest things I wouldn't trade for anything. In the South, I was just doing an interview earlier this morning with somebody about a book. And they said, well, what's so indicative about the South and where you grew up and how you saw it? Because everybody grows up everywhere, but they see it a different way, People down there love authenticity. It's not what you want to do, it's what you have to do. Right. Yeah. Does your life depend on you doing this? Because you're going to do it with all the passion in the world. If you want to do it, today I want pizza, tomorrow I might want pasta, I might want fish next week. It changes. I want a blue sweater, I want a black car, I want a white car. But do you have to do it? So it was that got instilled in me at an early age. And my brother, who's a jazz drummer, is the one that kind of got me into music. And, growing up in the hood, they would have these block parties, like the local band would be rehearsing all the popular songs, all the James Brown, all the whatever. And so, crowd gathers around and you're hearing them. So I got the music bug because I love the way the music made people feel. Because music is really about a transference of feeling and emotion to another human. Right. So when you think about New Orleans and you think about the South, and to me, New Orleans is almost like a European city in America, because they don't care what goes on in LA, New York, Nashville, nowhere but there. Yeah. How you doing down here? So through my brother, I met Alvin Baptiste, I met the Marcellus family, Ellis, all the kids. We all kind of grew up together, me, Branford, Winton, and Branford and I went to school together for a while. So there was a place you went for music, so I would go down there and play shows and play gigs and do all of this stuff. And all the early jazz explosion before even the Jazz Fest even really got started heavy. It came out of this little club, Lou and Charlie's. We would all play gigs there and do this whole, it was a very natural evolution of the spirit of the music, of the people loving the music, and this is jazz. Yeah. This is but it's also has blues and soul and rock and everything in it. So it's a very healthy artist community in the South, especially New Orleans. So the whole state gets it. Yeah. So when you, in between New Orleans and Lafayette, which is the home of Zydeco, Rockin' Doopsie and all that kind of stuff, Clifton Chenier, you have Baton Rouge, which is the state capital with Southern and LSU and all of the wealth and the riches of the capital of the state. Yeah. So it was it's 45 minutes drive away. So it's basically in LA, you would think, oh yeah, this is LA. Yeah. So they call it New Orleans and Baton Rouge, but it's, and Lafayette from Baton Rouge is another 40 minutes. Yeah. So, it was just an interesting thing. But I love growing up there, man. What it taught me to be able to love all kinds of music, no matter what it was. To love local music, which, I don't know. That's why I say it's almost like a European city. Yeah. LA doesn't really have local music. I guess you can call the Dre Snoop thing, Easy, all of that, NWA. I guess you can call that kind of LA music. or West Coast hip hop. But down there, you got local music that doesn't permeate anywhere but there.
Yeah.
You had the Wild Chapatulas, you had the Meters, you have all of this crazy, interesting music that they only hear down there.
Yeah. What made you pick up I mean, your bassists and keyboardists, right? What was it about those instruments that made you go to those instruments in particular?
My brother was a drummer, and this guy that I just was enamored with in this band that used to rehearse, that later taught me lessons, played bass. So it just spoke to me. You know, it's like, what instrument speaks to you when you hear stuff? You know, a lot of people go for the vocals, they go for the heavy beats, especially now with all the trap music going on. Like, yo, man, the beat is hard, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it was the bass. It was the first place I went. And then I played saxophone, I played guitar, I played piano. But the bass is really what stuck to me. I also tried to sing too, because, you know, you gotta have that expression. I thought I could be Stevie Wonder. Or Stevie Wonderful, as Tony Bennett calls him.
Well, you must have had some great elements of that, because it seems like you were so integral in like so many of these projects that even though you weren't the vocalist, you know, Mariah and Whitney and all these people were, you know, flourished under the projects that you worked on. How did you work on that team collaboration to be such a powerful influence in projects like that?
You know, I love singers. I love music. I grew up in a little small Baptist church that, you know, it had all of the theater of the church, the hooping and hollering, the shouting, the fainting,
yeah,
the catching the Holy Ghost. You know what I'm saying? It had all the stuff, and it had also amazing music. So music just kind of became the cornerstone for me. So I always loved great singers and great voices, because as a musician, you do the accompaniment. Now, what was interesting for me as a young boy with Alvin Batiste and all of that stuff that was going on, he was very attuned to the jazz world on a national scene. So, and through my brother, I fell in love with, like, Coltrane and Miles were really my mentors on the music side. Like, yeah, between those two, Zeppelin and Hendrix and James Brown, I was good. Like, I mean, this was like my whole, and the jazz thing, just as unbelievable musicians that transcended every boundary and every genre, Miles and Coltrane. That's why they're so instrumental. I mean, the artistic nature of them is just, I mean, I can't even, that's why at every music school today, people are still trying to learn giant steps.
Yeah.
Every college of music, Berkeley, USC, Dillard, UNO, wherever you at, they're trying to learn that, because it's a study really in just, from a modal musical nature. To me, the jazz musicians are the highest level of musicians ever. They're like the Picassos of music, because in the Olympics, the degree of difficulty is the highest on the jazz side. Classical players, you got Heifetz, you got Paganini, you got a bunch of amazing people, but they're playing music already created by somebody. They don't have to improvise.
Right.
So in order to play stuff already created by Coltrane and Miles, and then having to improvise on it to come up with your own voice, now you're talking. So I fell in love with the bass. I was enamored with music, and that's why I say it was the greatest gift for me to be born there at a place that's a music-centric place. You can't say that about many of the places in America. You could say about Tennessee, you could say that with the country music, you could say that about Kentucky with the bluegrass, but ain't many other places you can say we created a whole genre of music.
Yeah, yeah. So I know, like, everybody that goes through these transgenerational phases, a lot of people have contempt for new music when they, you know, as they grow up, and like, oh, it's not like it wasn't in the old days, but you were a real musician, play real instruments. So how do you keep your sanity listening to like trap music or stuff like that? Or like how did that not just like make you go crazy when hip hop took away from the musicians as much as?
Well, I think as we are great people of color and some of the greatest people on the planet, that freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of artistic things. So the people that call the new music are snobs. So the new music is as great as the old music is different music. So how am I to say to you, yo man, you shouldn't be dating that girl? ain't the girl for you. No, no, you don't understand, money. I love her. So we're different. What you love, I may not love. What I love, you may not love. So you can never say this is bad. It's all great because it's left up to freedom of artistic expression. Yo, God's Plan was playing in the car coming over here with Drake. Probably done by 40 or Future or 1985 or Frank Fuchs or one of the guys that he works with, whatever. Who am I to say? I love it as much as the thing because I'm looking to see how the next generation wants to express themselves. I'm learning. So, but see, to me, I'm from the generation, the greatest musical periods were the 60s and 70s for me. I think in history. I think as you fold back history and you look at all of that with P-Funk, you look at Sly and the Family Stone having hits with like crazy musicians. You look at P-Funk with like almost a fusion band having hits. When you look at all of that, Zeppelin, Hendrix, and we're still living in that Beatles, Motown. To me, the real musician should be taking the trap beats and trying to put their stuff on top of it. Now that's an interesting collab. Yeah. That's what kind of Kendrick did with his last album, which is very instrumental because he was smart. He was like, yo, let me call Terrence Blanchard, let me call all the music heads, you know, and let me put this over some other music. Yeah. That's where I come from because it's freedom, right? Everything works. Yeah. So it's like we're all great chefs. Hey, maybe I'll put more paprika in my gumbo. Maybe I'm gonna put some Mexican spices in there and gonna be like, yo, now that, no, damn, what? Yeah. So I think the ones that are talking about the music ain't like it used to be as snobs and they're afraid of change. So if you're afraid of change, you must be an insecure person because being afraid of change means that you're fearful. Wow. Yeah. So how free really are you? Yeah. So don't even talk to me about anything else because you ain't free, you just a snob. Yeah. It ain't like what it used to be. It ain't supposed to be. It's expression. How can you say to a painter, no, man, I don't like that, man. You just paint some abstract thing with watercolors. Huh? Yo, man, this is my soul speaking on this canvas. Yeah. You telling me my soul is wrong? Wow. Yeah. Ain't none of us God, money.